Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Politdigm Podcast. My name is Red, and today I'm joined by my co-host, Alpha.
Hello.
And today is the 20th of February, or in the European system, or aka the system that everybody uses except in America, it's 2002, which is a nice little mirror of the date and the month, and I like funky numbers. Done being dumb for now. Speaking of being dumb, last episode was weird at the end. If anybody listened to that, I apologize. I was not feeling great, and my brain goes into weird sections of my brain when I'm tired and sleepy.
Weird sections of my brain is a euphemism.
Yep, you got it, buddy.
You go into weird sections of reality.
Yeah. Anyways, today, this week actually was my week, and I decided to choose a topic which I have been meaning to talk about for a very long time. In fact, when I was first working out the idea of creating Politdigm, funnily enough, this was one of the first article ideas I ever had, but for some reason I never actually got to writing it. And I suddenly, during one night when I was feeling ill, and I still am, by the way, if you're wondering if I'm feeling better since last week, I am not. I couldn't sleep. I was having a bit of a sleepless night, and I suddenly had the idea to write this article, or remembered to write this article once more. And I was like, fuck it. And I did it. And now we're here. And today we're going to talk about it. And the topic I chose to talk about is MrBeast, specifically doing a Marxist analysis of his content. Not exactly, we're not going to scrutinize him as a person, purely going to look at his work and what he has done and what he has done badly, what he has done good, what should he do, a lot of things. We're going to get into the nitty gritty. So before we get into the episode, of course, we have to do our customary plug of our Patreon, because if you enjoy this episode, you can support us over at Patreon. If you can support us on Patreon, but would still like to, support us, you can check out our website where you can learn how to support us in alternative forms, which honestly, as I say in each episode, would be much more helpful than actually throwing money at our face. And of course, you can also join our public Discord server. Anybody can join. However, if you do join and you also happen to be a supporter over our Patreon, don't forget that you can submit questions for our podcast Q&A, where at the end of each episode, like today, we will try to answer any questions that anybody has submitted. If we don't, of course, we won't be, answering any questions. But if we do have questions, we will try to answer them as best as we can.
And do that. We haven't had a question in weeks.
Yeah, and of course, for the last little thing we have to plug is our social media platforms. You can check out us on our social media platforms, where you can get the newest information on what we are working on. For example, I've lately, on Threads specifically, been posting more about Politdigm Reads for those who are interested in learning about the books that we are planning to read at our main channel on our Politdigm Reads series, which has been popping off, and I'm glad that people are enjoying. So also go check out our main channel, because we have some exciting stuff going on there, and we have some more future plans which are pretty dope. And with that being said, I don't have much more to say other than actually getting into the article. So, Alpha,
let's get ready to rumble.
Alpha, did you have any time to read the article yet, or?
No,
Right,
I was trying to be a healthy human being and
we're working out.
Gym.
All right, so as you've known, and this is something we've talked about numerous times, even in the past, and was it yesterday we talked about this?
Most likely.
And the reality, that was actually today. It was today, this morning. And the reality is that throughout the last few years, maybe, not sure exactly what the timeline was, there's been a lot of sort of controversy regarding MrBeast's videos. There was a period where I feel like people were generally very supportive, and then there's been a time where there's clearly been some people who are purely just salty. For what reason, I do not know, nor do I really care. But there is definitely some, worthy criticisms that have been put towards them. And I technically speaking, we were kind of adding on to that, but I didn't really want to just kind of regurgitate. Holy shit!
Regurgitate.
Regurgitate. Damn, that word got me. What other people were already saying, I decided to purely take a look of my own at it. Yes, in the past I have watched that type of content, but to be honest, it's been super long since I've actually cared to look at a video like that. I know that a channel which I have watched once or twice, which is pretty dope, called, I believe, Then and Now, did a video on it pretty recently. I saw it on my recommended, but I didn't watch it. Probably when I saw that on my recommended, it kept it in my subconscious, which is probably why I actually remembered to write this article. But I wanted to kind of do my own thing, not really base it off of anything that I had really seen before, and purely kind of digged into my own knowledge, of politics and economy, and decided to do an analysis of what he has done. Of course, this episode is not a critique or we're not scrutinizing him as a person. In fact, many of times in this episode, we're probably going to, say good qualities that Jimmy has. This is not, we're not saying, oh, he's a piece of shit. What?
That's his name?
Yeah, Jimmy.
Jimmy.
Yeah.
Jimmy.
Yeah, well, his name is James, but...
Jimmy.
Yeah.
MrBeast is called Jimmy.
Yeah, you didn't know that?
I had no fucking clue. I think you can see that by my reaction.
That
is kind of hilarious. I'm not gonna lie.
You weren't cultured swine. What? Anyways. But yeah, I wanted to take a look at what he, to his content, and generally kind of give a Marxist analysis of it. So, in the beginning of the article, I start off with kind of presenting what his role is and how he came to be, and kind of the imagery that Jimmy has on YouTube. I named this part of the article as MrBeast, the modern American dream. Why did I say that? For those who don't know, in a lot of places in the world, in modern times, if you do any type of sort of survey to children and ask them what they want to be when they grow up, the probability that they answer something along the lines of YouTuber, content creator, or something along those lines is pretty big. In fact, one of my teachers actually recently decided to do that with one of his classrooms, and most of them said that they wanted to be content creators. So there's been a clear shift from wanting to do traditional jobs to wanting to do digital jobs, specifically content creation, in the last few years, mostly relating to Gen Z, and even, I'm guessing, Gen Alpha at this point, since they are getting older.
Tell your children, I wonder why.
Yeah, but and in many ways, this is kind of just the same old sort of like cyclical process that we've been going through, for a long time. And I would like to point out specifically the sort of post World War II era in America, where when the American dream idea was born, where that sort of terminology was born, where you would see these sort of advertisements, these posters, these sort of imageries of like the perfect family, of the perfect life. Of course, you have to be white and straight. And you kind of wanted to align yourself with that. You wanted to, to work at a factory. You wanted to live that life. You wanted to work in a cubicle. And now in the modern age, the traditional American dream has died completely, either because of the internet, basically showing its fallacies and its impossibilities, but also because
long-term tried and tested results, or lack thereof.
No, it's not just that. It's also the fact that capitalism has totally destroyed any possibility of the American dream even existing. Even back then, the American dream didn't really exist, because it only existed for, if you were a white, straight person. So already that saying that it's the American dream, no, it was the white American dream. The person of color American dream was basically, I sure hope I survive and don't get, murdered.
Oh, I'm not a slave.
So, when you look at it that way, the American dream was never a thing. But let's say that it was. Even in today's, standards of economics and the way that, our current economy works, nothing like that could ever exist. unless you completely change it. And in many ways, I view kind of this renaissance of the American dream, or this, a dream that people or that kids want to be YouTubers, as a very similar thing, or basically the modern equivalent of it, because people see these people, the kids are seeing people who have these lavish lives, who have these great lives where they can do whatever the hell they want without having to worry about anything.
Video games for a living most of the time.
And boom, there you go. You have a new American dream. And pardon me, and it goes further than that, because when you look at, for example, the origin story of MrBeast, you kind of even get more the feeling of the American dream. And why do I say that? Because MrBeast has been doing content for like 10 years at this point. I don't remember exactly how long it's been, but it's been a long time. And he basically, for the first half, or like 2/3 of his content creation life, he was basically just, probably slightly more popular than us, but was a relatively small channel. He would do random stuff. He, had been trying to be a YouTuber since he was a child, and he never had any success. And eventually, one day, he did. I think it was because of those like donation streams where he would, or not streams, where he would donate to streamers. That's what I meant. Which basically put him on the picture. At least that's when I remember first finding out about him. The reality is that, like any other person or any success story in capitalism, it is not because of merit. Yes, MrBeast is very good at, analyzing and manipulating the YouTube algorithm, but that's in a modern day. That's what he does now, because he now does that 24/7. But back then, when he truly, first started growing an audience, it was basically due to just make as much content as possible and just hope I get lucky. And in YouTube, and generally speaking in the capitalist life, every success story is pure luck. Or you are lucky enough, which still is in the luck department, you are lucky enough to know somebody who has already the resources or the fame to achieve whatever you want. So basically have
nepotism or luck, basically.
Yeah, it's basically nepotism, or, have powerful friends, or get really lucky. And, in many ways, having, being part of a rich family or having rich friends is already kind of in the luck zone. So it's basically luck. There is no meritocracy when it comes to capitalism. And if you believe so, you should probably reevaluate your life. But the reality is that Jimmy's success was not due to him being somehow better than other content creators. No, it was purely luck. However, that is not the picture that is painted. It is painted that he is this success story, the underdog who became the biggest of them all. Again, the American dream sort of thing, which is like the underdog story is always an American obsession, which, has been going for decades at this point, not to say centuries. Yes, there are some, or like at this, there are some like, how do I call it? Like rumors, or there has been people who have questioned basically the background of Jimmy's parents and his family. I saw that at some point, like there was like these questionable things about like his dad being connected to some company, like, but that doesn't matter. That doesn't really matter to this, to the point we're trying to make. And the reality is that it's not, at all what we're trying to do. We're not going to analyze his family background to prove that, that he isn't worthy of his success, because that's not at all what we're doing here today. So it doesn't matter. If he does have some affluent background, then that just proves us more correct. So it is what it is. It doesn't really matter if he's lucky because he had powerful friends, or because he's lucky he got, he was at the right place at the right time. Regardless, he has gathered millions of subscribers. He has God knows how many YouTube channels at this point, and he makes a variety of content, and he has made millions, and also spent millions in his content, and has made, he basically, as I said, he got known, he got famous for giving away money. He got famous for giving away money to people, and basically what gathered people together to watch these videos was the reactions that these people got. You know, the people who received these donations were always thankful, and they had these outlandish like reactions, and people were like, "Oh my God, this is so awesome to see these people, you know, their lives being changed just because of one person, and like this is so dope." And Jimmy has stick to that sort of formula, or essentially that sort of idea, that concept, and has run with it for the last God knows how many years at this point. The reality is that he has kind of transcended the realm of being simply a YouTuber. He has his main channel, you know, the MrBeast channel. He then has MrBeast Gaming. He has MrBeast Philanthropy. He has a crap ton of channels. I believe he also has MrBeast React. So he's basically any type of content that's like popular, he is making his own version of it. And in fact, he recently, maybe not so recently, also started doing content in other languages. So he gets people to translate his videos with actual voice recordings so that he can push his content to people in countries that don't speak English, or that don't have as a big, you know, don't have that many people who speak English. Recently, there has been some tech that YouTube has tried to implement to add that to like directly into videos, so that you can choose the audio basically that you're listening to, so you can like change the language on like as if you were listening to a Blu-ray or some shit. So I'm guessing that maybe, you know, with that being implemented, that he will not have those channels anymore. But I don't know. It doesn't really matter. The reality is that he has basically built a whole ass business, and it's no longer just, hey, I'm a YouTuber doing silly content. No, I have a whole, you know, content creation empire. And he's gone beyond the content creation. He now has his famous chocolate bars, you know, Feastables. He also has his MrBeast burger ghost chain thing, which is like one of those fast food chains that basically uses an already existing like restaurant to like fuel his food. So it's not an actual fast food chain that's like built up from the ground. I think it's called a ghost kitchen, if I'm not correct, but I believe that they are not really active anymore, even though their site is still up. I don't know. I'm not sure what the hell is going on there, but the reality is that he's gone beyond the what we consider a YouTuber, and he has become a full-on business person. He's now doing good old business. The reality is that he is trying to basically milk out every single droplet of profit that he can get out of his content, so that he can then take that money, invest it back into his content and into his other projects and stuff like that. And the reality is that in some ways that can be good. For example, he worked with another YouTuber called Mark Rober, who is an ex-NASA engineer, to work on the projects like Team Trees and Team Seas, where a certain amount of money was equal to planting a tree or removing a certain amount of trash from the water. And those are relatively awesome ideas. And, stuff which are pretty commendable. Like, those are cool, dope ideas. However, there is one small issue with his philanthropic or his good actions, which started giving me a little bit of an itch, which is that when you learn anything regarding, political theory, regarding, Marxism or anything, you start recognizing something or a pattern, which is that in a modern age, people are consistently driven to do these good actions, but they're never going to basically fix or recognize their root cause. And that is where a big issue with MrBeast is. And we'll get back to that in a second, because before that, I would actually like to analyze another part of his another issue that we have, which is very, very close to that, which is how he perpetuates neoliberal ideas. So what is neoliberalism, you might be asking? Neoliberalism is a philosophy, a economic philosophy, which was essentially created or spearheaded by Reagan and Margaret Thatcher. Margaret Thatcher, yes. I forgot her past name for a second there. Which is basically after World War II, America dominated the West, the entirety of Europe. They basically funded our rebuilding, and they were basically our sugar daddy for a long time. However, as Europe reached a certain point where we were back on our feet, we're back being able to, build our own, our own factories, doing our own thing. There were suddenly the American economy started going, whoa, suddenly these other countries aren't dependent on us as they were before. By the way, if you would like some more in detail information about exactly the story of the appearance of neoliberalism, I recommend that you go check out our series on our main channel, where I'm currently reading a book which talks about that. So go watch that if you would like to learn that into more detail. But basically, then Nixon came. He basically removed a law or a system that the American economy had in place. And then afterwards, Reagan came and basically turned the American economy from something which was essentially planned because of the post-war era. They wanted to basically plan every part of the economy, and then went into the complete different sort of axis and went, no, if you're going to be liberals, we're going to be true liberals in the literal sense, where everything must be individualistic. That's how in today's modern day era America, we have such individualism, which is probably one of the things that's most shocking for a European when they coexist with American, is how individualistic they are. For example, for most people in Europe, like when we watch American movies, it's so weird the social relations people have, where they're so willing to fuck each other over for the smallest bits of success, which have absolutely no meaning in a greater scale. And it's stuff like that which are perpetuated. There you go, I got it. By neoliberalism, because when you have an entire economic system which is reliant on the idea that everyone is by themselves, and it's basically a sort of Darwinian concept when it comes to economics, in the sense that, survival of the fittest, you'll only survive if you are capable enough, if there's quote unquote merit. And these ideas are horrible, and they are, the ideas and the system that has been destroying our planet for the last 50, no, it was since the 80s. So 40 plus years. So this is a problem, because neoliberalism, as we've just established, is a system which is hyper-individualistic, and not just that, has the idea that it basically puts money on a pedestal in the free market and all these other things. And you can learn more about that in a previous episode we did 2 weeks ago, where we talked about definitions. And the reality is that MrBeast kind of does this. He doesn't kind of do it. He does this. I don't think he consciously does it or willingly does it. But the reality is that when you grow up in the, in the imperial core, and specifically when you are an American, you become so entangled with neoliberal ideas, which you can barely remove yourself from them. It's very hard. And it's not because the person is dumb or the person is incapable. No, it is because you grew up in a certain social context which doesn't give you the material conditions to be able to have any other type of thought. And the reality is that as much as Jimmy's content is in many ways, and you can tell by the way he talks about it, that he has good intentions. He is perpetuating this system, which is also the root cause of so many of the problems, which he seems to be against and want to stop. For example, he consistently does content around helping people that are less economically fortunate. Like helping people who either can't pay for healthcare and other stuff like that. This is something which he has done multiple times. And the reality is that whilst in a capitalist system, you can understand why somebody would do something like that. Because the reality is that for as long as our capitalist system exists, stuff like donations can genuinely be the only way for a lot of people to get the healthcare they want and need to survive. But the reality is that that's not going to solve the problem. That is only a temporary band-aid on a massive systemic issue. And he has this kind of tendency to, for lack of a better term, throw money at things, and tries to sort of constantly, as I said before, put a band-aid on a massive issue, which in many cases is what other capitalist organizations have been doing for a long time now. For example, in the article, I talk about specifically big oil, the oil companies. They, for example, Exxon, which is one of the famous examples, they at some point in the past, a few decades ago, did some scientific research, and before the general public was aware of the concept of global warming, they realized that their practices were contributing to global warming or to the destruction of the environment. And instead of coming out about it and basically openly, recognizing that, oh shit, we're fucking up the planet, no, they kept quiet about it. And for a long time, they said absolutely nothing and tried to pin global warming down to natural causes instead of being caused by human beings. And whilst comparing this practice to MrBeast can be a bit extreme, we have to remember that in many ways, what they have been doing in the recent years, for example, like Shell and other companies, which supposedly are also investing in eco-friendly methods of power production, and are funding campaigns to stop pollution, all these things. It is ridiculous that a company which is causing so much pollution and is destroying our environment has the audacity, which is the only way I have to put it, the audacity to then spit in our faces and act like they're all innocent and they also want to help. And whilst MrBeast is not the cause of poverty in America and other stuff like that, it is clear that in many of his methods, whilst not on purpose, they do follow that same method of, here's a big-ass systemic issue, and I am simply going to do something which makes it look like I'm doing something. And in reality, it's not doing much, at least not in the long run. Yes, in a short term for a few people, he's definitely helping them. But in the long run, he is not really doing anything that's going to impact the root causes of the issue, which is capitalism. The reality is that for true change to happen, and you can, do your own research on this and, find your own sort of vision of how that must be done. We need to change the system. How? That's a different topic for another day, or topics, something we've talked about before. But the reality is that if you have a shit ton of problems caused by a system called capitalism, until those problems, until that system which causes those problems is, it doesn't exist anymore, those problems will sustain. It is simple as cause and effect. And if you don't remove the cause, the effect is always going to be there. No matter how much you try to, smooth down the effect, and as much as you try to make it look less bad, it still exists. And you can't just throw money at a problem and expect it to go away. That's not how the world works. And the reality is that I think that in many ways, Jimmy does, like most Americans, who are most progressive Americans, which I believe he still is relatively progressive, regarding, in comparison to most other Americans. I believe that he is incapable of seeing this. Again, not because he's dumb or whatever. No, because he just has never been awakened to that idea, and probably maybe one day he will be able to realize it, or maybe he won't, and all we can do is try to hope to educate him, but at the same time there's absolutely no guarantee that it's going to work. But regardless, I believe, and I like to believe it, that he is generally good intentioned, and I see a lot of the things that he's doing as coming from a good place, a place that generally wants to help. But the reality is that he is not trying to solve the cause, the root problem of the problems he is trying to solve. So his videos become nothing less than a pathetic attempt at looking good for the public. And that's not great, because there's a lot of people who don't realize that and aren't able to recognize that. And those people are people who are young and impressionable viewers who have absolutely no idea how the world works, because they're kids and they're not going to know for maybe over a decade. And even a lot of adults, pretty old adults at this point, still don't know. So, can't really judge a small child to not know how capitalism works. But the reality is that his content is generally more designed or pointed at for children. And you can argue that, no, his content is not for children. But as we've said before, his content is basically designed. It's drawn to, the spec for the YouTube algorithm. And the reality is that the YouTube algorithm very much is going to want to create content for children. So as long as YouTube is making it more profitable to make content that is sporadic and goofy and shiny and all the things that children love, he's going to keep doing it, because he's, again, playing the algorithm. He's playing into the algorithm, and whatever the algorithm tells, he will do. But this has a negative effect. I don't know if I did a great job of it, but I try to separate it into kind of two categories of people who will, younger people who will view his content, and kind of the idea they'll get from it. One group is the group that will see his good acts. I at some point myself was part of this group. I saw his good deeds. I saw all the things he tried to do, and I was like, I want to do this one day. I want to use all my money and fame and hopefully help people, and I want to make the world a better place. And eventually, in my obsession, quote unquote, with that dream, it drove me into into leftist spheres, and I started doing research, and I started doing reading books, and I started informing myself on it. And now I've come to the conclusion that, okay, I still want to help people and I still want to do this. However, I recognize that the methods on which I plan to do so are flawed and don't work. However, not everybody is going to be able to do that. And a lot of people are going to kind of get stuck in the social democrat sphere of it, and are going to kind of think that you can solve capitalism with more capitalism, which is, don't do that. It's like trying to put out a fire with more fire. You can't do that. The flame is just going to burn quicker. It's going to look more epic because you're fighting fire with fire, and that looks dope. But at the end of the day, it's just going to be a lot of fire. And when you try to put it off, you're going to be like, oh shit, that there's like twice as much fire as there was in the beginning, and I don't know how to, get rid of the fire now. So there isn't a guarantee that this group of children, which, children who will see this and be like, I want to make the world a better place, will be able to go down a stream of life where it actually allows them to recognize that, all right, the sort of social, the SOCDEM idea, or the kind of liberal takes of solving poverty, etc., aren't actually working. And because they're, again, not addressing the root cause problem, which is capitalism. I'm going to say that a lot more. So that's kind of iffy. And then we have the second group of children, which is not good at all, because these are the children which, instead of falling down the more, would say, I guess, leftist tendency, are going to fall down the more right-wing tendency. And what do I mean by that? Instead of viewing Jimmy's content as, oh, look, he's trying to make the world a better place, I want to help people, they're going to look at it and be like, oh my God, he has so much money, he has such an awesome life, I want to, be able to buy Lamborghinis and buy amazing mansions, and I want to be a content creator which does these amazing and outlandish shit, and I want money, and I need money, and money is God. And that's horrible, because that is how you get a bunch of zombie brained teenagers, which value nothing more than money, and then you kind of fall down, which is something we've talked about, and Alpha did an amazing job at talking about, was kind of the manosphere public, which are people who are immensely obsessed with wealth and success, and are so kind of obsessed with it, which they don't even realize that they are just a bunch of dumbasses who are, you know, awful people and are willing to screw everybody over for their own success, and then suddenly wake up one day and are like, why does nobody love me? Surely they are the problem and I'm not. So again, it's more neoliberal shit, and it's again the whole individualistic stuff which we talked about before, and that's why I talked about it, because it's again, you're perpetuating those ideas, and perpetuating those ideas to children is exceptionally bad, because if you're going to do it to a bunch of boomers, it's like whatever, they're boomers, they're fried, you know, it's over. Like they're not going to get out of that state. If they do, awesome, but probably not really going to be able to outgrow their neoliberal tendencies. But to teach those values to children is pretty bad, because the reality is that they're just going to grow up to support more right-wing and capitalist ideas, because they still see money as the only thing that drives the world, and they can't recognize that there can be a world beyond money, because money is God, and praise God. You know, basically that's what I'm trying to get at. And as a person who outlandishly hates money, or the concept of it, and I think that it's done tremendous harm, and it's brain rotten, you know, most of society, to the point where they think that money has some sort of value that actually means anything, even though it's just a made up idea that we created. I am very scared that that's what people are falling down into. And again, I don't believe that Jimmy wants to do this, and I don't think that he's probably even aware that this is something that can happen, because when you are in America, when you are in such a neoliberal state, ideas like that are the norm. They're not, you know, weird or looked down upon. They're literally what is normal, and the everyday, you know, thought of a normal person. So he's probably not going to be able to recognize that those are not great thoughts to be having. So what exactly do I wish that MrBeast would do differently? Now, that is a very big question, because the reality is that we can't enforce him to do anything differently. We can only hope that he is surrounded by people which maybe are differently informed about these ideas. So what exactly should he do? I don't know. It's not an exact answer, but I do wish that he at least recognized or tried to tackle the problems that he talks about with some sort of more in-depth information or something. I don't know how to put it. But the reality is that when you look at it, he is not doing a great job at solving these problems, and he is not actually doing anything. As much as it hurts to say, MrBeast is not contributing anything to society other than making some goofy videos. In many ways, his videos are fucked, to say the least. A lot of his videos, at least in more modern age, have become very dystopian feeling, where he is gathering a bunch of poor people who have less money than him, and they are basically playing games or fighting over the money. And this feels very dystopian to me. This feels like just like movies like The Hunger Games or other stuff like that, where you bring a bunch of people from like the slums or God knows what horrible, you know, undeveloped and what the term is, I can remember it, you know, neighborhood, and basically just tell them, all right, you need money, fight for me, fight for it, entertain me, and you'll get the money. And as much as it's like, oh, but that's not what Jimmy is doing. Sure, maybe not with a malintention, but the reality is that when you really look at it and recognize that, oh, he is filming a bunch of poor people who really need money, and then he's doing it for the entertainment of himself and his viewers, it really starts to get a bit iffy. Because the reality is that those people who watch that content of these people fighting for the money can either then have two opinions, which is, oh, I'm equally or very rich, so look at these funny people fighting over money, a problem which I don't have. Or you have people like the ones fighting for money, which look at it and go, damn, I really wish I was part of the group of people that are fighting for the money. And that's not good. That's really not good. So I started kind of questioning when writing this article, and I guess I kind of had this opinion already, but I wasn't as formal or as structured as it was after writing it. But is anything he's doing actually have any benefit for the world? Because he's clearly perpetuating very bad ideas. He is constantly throwing money at a lot of issues and supposedly fixing it. And at the end of the day, he's kind of got lost in the sauce, and that's to you off of that. That was a tribute to the way you like humor and shit. Because he's kind of lost it, in my opinion. I feel like he's lost track of what he was supposed to do. He's clearly very much got into business. He is very money driven, even if his money driven ways aren't purely driven by I need money, I need more and more money because I need to be the richest as possible, like some Jeff Bezos type shit. Sure, that might not be his idea, but he is still kind of endlessly trying to hoard more and more money with the hopes of making some sort of change. And he is, at the same time as he tries to make a change, he is just hurting the world more. And he's just kind of stuck in a loop where he's not really doing anything. He's just, I don't know how to put it, but it's not great. And I think that one of the things that he does, which Marx coins as a false consciousness. And what does he mean by a false consciousness? And this comes right back into, for example, the thing I talked about, big oil, which is that there is the reality of things. There is how the world is and how the world works. And then there is a group of people who either intentionally or unintentionally are contributing to a false narrative, a false reality, which is trying to mask what is really going on. And in many ways, I don't think he does it on purpose, but in many ways, to me, it just feels like all MrBeast is doing is contributing to this false consciousness. Because all he's doing is perpetuating that, oh, for you to solve the world's problems, you need money. You need, immense amount of money. You need to use that money to fix the problems. And look at me, I'm fixing those problems. Slowly, they're being fixed. Trust me, I know, because I have that trust in myself. I am fixing these problems. And everybody just sits back and goes, hey, look, this guy's doing these great things. He's solving the problems. And we're all going to be saved. In many ways, this is exactly what Elon Musk did. Although Elon Musk is a sociopath, and I don't think Jimmy is. And the only reason that people have recently kind of realized that, oh, never mind, Elon is a sociopath and a completely insane person is because he became tremendously right-wing. He started spewing transphobic shit, he's spewing anti-Semitic stuff, just a lot of horrible shit. And people suddenly recognize that he's doing the false consciousness stuff. But to a poster boy like, for a poster boy that MrBeast is, it is much harder for people to recognize that because he is, in my opinion, generally good intentioned. He is doing this because he actually believes he can make a difference. But
I'm sorry to stop you. I gotta ask a question. How long have we been recording right now?
44 minutes.
I just realized I was muted. You didn't even fucking notice.
Yeah, I could not hear you, literally, if you're muted.
muted for 30 minutes and you just went on a fucking ramble and you didn't notice that you were the only one talking.
No, I noticed, but I was like, maybe he's just listening, and I was not gonna say anything. I thought that you at some point you would say something.
I was muted.
I was Jesus take the wheel type of thing. I was just hoping that at some point you'd say something.
Muted.
I feel like you're just dying inside currently. You're just like, oh,
I From my mouth came the most deep and philosophical of sayings, and the world is going to be deprived of them because I was fucking muted.
fuck.
I am so mad right now.
Hey, got the
I can't
stage
believe
now.
this happened to me.
Hey, you got the stage now. Go ahead, pop off, King. Like, go ahead. You got the stage.
Ah, holy shit. Okay, okay. So, two important things are off the top of my head. One, if we consider that what MrBeast is doing is wrong, philanthropy, I don't agree with philanthropy. I think that the need to rely on the riches of the rich and their kindness to be able to have the semblance of some kind of charity work is fucking how do I say this, inhumane, but that's okay.
I
No
have I
intervene.
have a I have a good I have a good analogy for that. It's like, like the dinosaurs and the meteorite. It's
Yeah.
like the dinosaurs looking up and going, "Hey, buddy, would you not like to crash and kill us all, please,
Brr.
please?" And the
So
meteorite is like, "Yeah, maybe I'll think about it. Yeah, sure, I'll do
I
that."
think
And then does it, and then just crashes in anyways.
yeah, but there is obviously the need to say that people are buying this shit
Yeah,
like they are, and that speaks because this wouldn't be a problem if there wasn't an audience, and that says a lot about the system as a whole, and this idea of generosity being rewarded with views and money, which in turn fuels generosity, air quotes, of course, is it messes with me. Also, you got the saying of fucking. You have the saying of, well, you give a man a fish, you'll feed him for a day. You teach him how to fish, he will be fed for his life.
yeah,
You can see that also happening with this. Like, if you give someone money, that's probably not going to fix their problems. It might help, but shit, you
yeah.
don't know. Maybe they got a lot of things that impede them to actually make use of the money how a normal person would. And that doesn't destroy the whole system that led them to be like that. But
But
that's
if
something
you
else.
but if you
There is also
collect
one other thing.
if you collect the proletariat and teach them how to fish, they'll overthrow the governments. And what?
Okay.
Huh?
Well,
And
that
topple
actually doesn't work
capitalism.
because we do have fishermen, and they sure as shit haven't overthrown the government.
Yeah.
But yeah, the other thing is, and this is for you. Okay, let's say what he's doing is bad, morally, objectively incorrect, which I don't think is a way to talk about this. But
Yeah.
let's take that stance. How do you suggest that? How do you suggest that he proceeds with his life? He can't undo what he did.
Yeah.
So now that he's rich and he's famous, what should he do?
I think that the main thing that he can do, and I think that at the end of the day, that is the only true change that is positive, is affirming collective action. The idea that, hey, look, there's billions of us, right? And as much as people kind of forget that, us, the day-to-day person, we have more in common with the common homeless person than the billionaire. We are closer to the person living under a bedsheet on the street than the person at the top of a skyscraper. So
So
it
Mr.
is.
Beast should call for revolution.
Whoa, calm. I didn't say revolution.
That's
Uh,
because holy shit, that's what I'm getting.
the reality is that all he can do is look to his audience and go, "Hey, look, we have been talking about, hey, we can change the world. We can, plant, can plant a shit ton of trees. We can do this. We can do that. But the reality is that I, as Mr. Beast, cannot do that alone. I am only one individual, and no money in the world can change that. the only way we can truly make any change is if we, group together and educate each other. We help each other. We, uplift our communities. We, try to help each other, and we truly become connected. We become a collective, a group of people that instead of fighting each other, going each other at the throat because of these just kind of mindless, individualistic tendencies that neoliberalism has put on us, and just kind of have this idea that no, I must survive, I am better than everybody else, and we recognize that no, that shit doesn't matter. Like, we are one species, and this idea that no, there is a meritocracy, no, there is, like, I must be richer than everybody else, and all these capitalist ideas, they don't mean anything. And I'm not even saying that Mr. Beast has to become a based socialist. That's not what I'm saying. But if he truly is a person which is somewhat caring and doesn't even care too much about economics from like a formal standpoint, I think that he has the power, and he definitely has the power and definitely has the influence. And I think that he has the good in his heart to take a step back and recognize that, hey, even if he doesn't know what capitalism is, he should be able to value what truly matters, in human beings. And even if he isn't going, hey, y'all need to become a bunch of revolutionary socialists, which I don't think he'll ever do, I think that he should try to appeal for people's humanities and go, hey, look, together monkey strong, basically. That's what I'm saying. And in many ways, the type of content he does now is doing exactly the opposite of that. He is making content which is pinning each other down and going, hey, you can be like me, you can be successful, you can have immense amount of wealth, you can be surrounded by millions of people, you can be the center of attention for everybody, you can be at the top of the world and not be vilified like the other rich people. And that's worthless. That's pointless. That's not going to get us anywhere. And again, I don't know what he should do or what exactly he could do or what his next steps would be, because in his position, I don't know what I would do, because I would frankly probably be overwhelmed and kind of scared to do anything. At least if I was like dropped in, with no or any, without any warning, I would be freaked the fuck out. But so I can't really picture what he should do, right? I can't, it's not really something I can do that well. But all I can say, or at least from my logic perspective, perspective, is to say that he should try to kind of change the language that he uses in his videos, and try to focus less on individual action and more on collective action, basically. Does that make sense?
And what should he do with his wealth?
I mean, with his wealth, I think that, again, to a degree, he is kind of already doing that, which is distribute as much of it as possible. But I do think that in many ways, his kind of like investment in videos, some of his videos are questionable. Like, I bought a $1 car and then I bought a $1,000 car and then I bought $1 million. It was like, what the fuck? No, die. Like, that's pointless, brain dead content. I wish that it's, to some degree, he would only go back to his origins and only do the type of content which is basically, look, here's a bunch of people who are in need of help, and I am going to build infrastructures. I'm going to, do my best to distribute the money. And then I guess the only way to do it correctly and not, in the... or the best way to do it, which again always would have to turn to politics, unfortunately, because that's the only way to do it, is he would have to go that, hey, look, I might be doing this, but remember that I am doing this because I am privileged to be able to do this, but that what I'm doing won't fix things, but that you as an individual, even if you are not a revolutionary, even if you are a reformist, that you can make a difference, that you can vote, that you can, vote for, let's say in America, you can vote for Bernie Sanders, and you can vote for these more sock them politicians, and they want to make a world that, where I don't have to do this, where I can just do whatever the hell, like kind of change up his wording or his language. But the problem is that won't happen. I don't think it will happen for several reasons. First of all, YouTube won't allow it. You can't just be the biggest YouTuber on the planet and then go out there and start advocating for politicians. You're screwed. Your career is,
Well, we're propaganding, so yeah,
like
I can see as to why someone would not want that.
So basically, MrBeast is like the biggest fence sitter on the planet right now when it comes to YouTube. And he's trying to do these good actions, which, again, as I said before, are contributing to the false consciousness, or just serving as a distraction to the reality of things. And what should he do? I don't know. The best solution would just to be retire, I guess. I don't know.
This actually brings up a problem that I had with what you were saying. We are currently discussing a serious topic,
Yeah.
and saying, okay, what this person is doing is bad, and they should do it. Okay, so what do you, as the person who wrote the goddamn blog, what do we propose?
Propose he
What can we
just
say?
gives.
Because we can just say, we can say rightfully, like, okay, this might not be correct, and objectively there are times where things are not correct. But
I
you can't just say this is incorrect and then just turn around, and when you're asked, okay, but what do we do then? I don't fucking know. Like,
can
figure it
I can
out.
I give you a good example then for
Yeah,
it?
me.
Let's imagine Jimmy's
All the people.
content or Jimmy's little empire as the car industry, right? For the longest time, and the car industry has been building around, is built around um, industrial combustion engines.
Yeah.
Suddenly, as we recognized that internal combustion engines are not viable in the long run, we have been looking at electrifying cars and turning cars electric. However, for the longest time, we have also been saying that electric cars are also not a solution for it. And the problem is not, oh, what is better, electric cars or combustion cars? The problem is that cars in no way is the solution. And that's what I'm trying to say, is that no matter what MrBeast tries to do, no matter how he tries to tweak his content, no matter what he tries to, whatever, he's always going to stay in that kind of one industry, right? That one form of being. No matter how left or how progressive or how conservative you try to go, you're stuck in one narrative, in one form of existing, right? And no matter how much you try to tweak it, it's just not plausible. In the case of transport, no matter how much you try to say, no, combustion cars are better, no, electric cars are better, no, none of them are good. What you need is a robust public transport system. That is the actual solution.
Or you proposing to how to fix the terms of the transportation crisis. I do not agree with what you're saying, because on one hand, you have a practical problem that we as a humanity are trying to fix, and on the other, you are presenting an opinion piece rated as a fuck. What's the word? Give me 1 second. I gotta think. Which has been written as a not theoretical, but based on theory, this of someone else's way of life, of work.
Yeah.
Give me 2 seconds to try to rephrase this even better. So, yeah, cars, etc., EVs, practical problem. But then you look at what we wrote about this week, which was your blog, and you are basing yourself on a philosophical way of thinking to try and discredit someone else's actions. I think that's fair to say, correct?
Not discrediting, I'm just analyzing them. I'm
analyzing someone else's actions.
just
Therefore, you are not looking at a practical problem. You need to try to apply your theoretical way of thinking into this real life scenario. We can't just say this is wrong and then say, but I don't fucking know what I would do in this place. I don't know what's the solution. And we
the
also have to
solution
be
is to just not do it.
we also have to be realistic
I know
because
that's why I said that realistically, no matter what conclusion I can come up to, or no matter what suggestion I can give towards Mr. Beast's content, it's not going to happen. I can recognize that his
not even
content
a
as it is right
moderate
now
a
is
moderate approach.
no,
Like
because
just
a
say,
moderate approach is still going to be contributing to the exact same problems that I've talked about.
would you rather have a moderate approach or not have an approach at all?
I mean, sure, a moderate. I mean, that's why I said there can be things that he could try to make better. Change, tweak to make it less
The thing
bad.
is, the
But
way
it's not
you
going to
present
solve
the
a problem.
problem is not practical. It's once again philosophical, basically. You say that you should advocate for certain political ideologies, which
Yeah,
we know it's probably not going to happen because, let's face it,
it's not
a
profitable.
huge YouTuber certainly turning into public propagandist is problematic.
Yeah, it's going
It
to
doesn't
be a shit show.
matter which political party or ideology he supports. That should not happen.
Yeah,
However, there are a lot of other avenues that you can explore before going down that road. There are not physical, not practical applications that you can use to try and help within the confinements that you are given by this oppressive system
yeah.
that you can give that go beyond the spreading of political beliefs. They are not perfect, but it's a fucking solution. And what I think we should do is, okay, this is what should happen. This is the practical application of what I think is feasible, though. And not just say, this is what I think should happen, but I know this is not going to happen, so fuck it.
But the thing is, you're missing the point of what I'm trying to say. What I'm trying to say, the only feasible thing that he could change is focusing away from money. That is the best thing he could do.
But why
However,
would he do that? You know that
he has no
for
motive.
him
That's what I'm trying to
to
say. His
for
whole
him to invest in
approach,
philanthropy, he has to get views and money. That's the way he gets.
yeah,
That's the way he gets the ah sponsorships, and that's how he has the money to do philanthropy.
yeah.
Do I think that philanthropy is a good system? Fuck no. But
No,
can he use
fuck
it
that
for
shit.
something else besides just yo, the last person to take the hand off my car gets $1 billion? There is the case of a football player. I forget his name, but I know that he comes from a very poor village, and he
Yeah,
set up a sustainable community based on the salary that he receives, a fucking
yeah,
huge salary that he receives from football.
yeah,
Education, medical facilities, etc., are sustained by this one
yeah. Football salary.
individual.
Yeah,
Is
for
that
example.
a sustainable
Nope.
and desirable type of environment and system? I don't think so. Do I think those people are happier that way?
Yeah.
And do I think that they would be happier this way than saying this is how we should do it according to Marx and not doing anything? Yeah, I do. I have my own political convictions. You fucking know this. I am extremely like left leaning, not as much as you, but close. However, I do think that we can't just stay behind theory. There is a modern world with with real constraints, and until a certain point, we can just say this is how it should be done, and look at it objectively and say this is how we could do it.
Okay, I don't want to be a bitch, but like you've clearly missed out on 90% of what I've said during this article. If that is of this episode, if that's your takeaway from what I said.
Fair enough. Being muted didn't help.
It's true.
Believe me.
No, what I'm trying to say is I said this in the beginning, which I said is that under a capitalist system, and let's imagine that like many capitalists think, or that many people in the modern age think, that capitalism is the only solution, right? Let's picture that. What Mr. Beast is doing under that assumption is good. He is helping people. He is contributing for a, he's contributing to helping a lot of communities which otherwise would get absolutely no help, by doing donations, by doing philanthropy, as we've critiqued during this episode. But I am not looking at it in a purely capitalist system. I'm looking at it outside a capitalist system. I'm saying that what he's doing is furthering capitalism, because it's kind of staying in that closed system. And I can analyze it and say, all right, what he's doing, it is contributing to capitalism. It's doing this, it's doing that. What should he do differently? I think that generally his whole approach and that his whole kind of existence is, to not contribute to capitalism would be for him to just retire. But that's not going to happen. As you said, I'm not trying to give a solution to the problem, because the solution to the problem is completely different and completely unconnected to what I'm saying. I am simply looking at, hey, he wants to help people, he wants to do this. And the reality is that when you start analyzing, you must recognize that he is not really doing that much good. Sure, he's doing a lot of good things in one ways, but he's also doing a lot of bad things in other ways, and they kind of cancel each other out, and he's not really contributing anything. He's in many ways contributing for bad things, he's in many ways contributing to good things, so he's just kind of in the middle. He's just kind of stale. And sure, his videos might be fun to watch. A lot of them, as I said, are very questionable. Like you said, they're very morally questionable and what the fuck he's doing, and feels like you're watching a sci-fi movie at points, but then you recognize, oh, this is happening in real life, and you're like, what the fuck? So I'm not trying to say, hey, no, MrBeast needs to, turn into a radical leftist and do all this and blah, blah, blah. No, I'm just saying that I am looking purely at his content and how his content is impacting the world, and how in relation to what he thinks it's doing. That's what I'm trying to do. I'm not saying, oh yeah, no, MrBeast needs to do this. I can say what I wish he would do, but I recognize that generally speaking, no matter what MrBeast tries to do, it's not going to fix the problem. And that's kind of my main takeaway. No matter what MrBeast tries to do in his kind of method or his environment, or I'm missing the term, what's the word? Methodology, I guess. It's not going to fix the problem. He's trying to fix a problem in the completely wrong sort of way. And that's why I use the car and public transport analogy, because the problem is that you need to get people from place A to place B, and you are looking at it purely trying to solve that problem with personal vehicles. And if we're trying to solve an issue regarding the environment, that can't be solved by personal vehicles. It needs to be solved by publicly owned vehicles. That's why I use that problem with that analogy, because what I'm trying to say is that no matter how you try to polish up MrBeast's, that's a mouthful, methods, they're all going to be flawed. And there is no real way that a YouTuber is going to solve any of the world's problems. And we are not going to solve any of the world's problems. We can simply try to educate people or try to bring them together. And that's all I wish MrBeast would try to do, is all that. That's all he can do. And that's all we can do. And all anybody can do is, again, that's why I said the collective action versus the individual action is all I hope that he would try to change maybe is, I don't know, be more hopeful. I don't know, but that's very subjective and not something that I'll think that he'll be able to do, or at least not as long as he's kind of in his prime or grindy era. I mean, so am I going to give you a solution? No, there is no good solution. Again, the only good solution would be to just end capitalism, but that's not going to happen from one day to the other. We've been trying to do that for hundreds of years at this point, and it's still going. So maybe we have another 100 years to go, and by that point, maybe it's too late, and we're all going to be doomed. So I can't give you an answer or a solution, because it is beyond my comprehension, and that's not at all the point of the article. My point of the article was literally just an analysis. Was not we need to turn MrBeast into a leftist. No, that's not the point. Do you get what I mean, Alpha?
Fair enough.
I get what you mean, and I get what your critique is, but that's not at all the point I was trying to do. That's what I was trying to explain. That's I get what you mean, and by that logic, sure, my point is kind of pointless. But that was not what I was trying to do, anyways, because it's trying to solve a problem with the wrong solution, kind of thing. You get what I mean?
Yeah, I get you. Fair enough.
But yeah, like ideally, I mean, because there's a lot of things. Like I've been kind of thinking about this. I don't know if you ever think about this, but there's a lot of things around us which, when you really think of it, you just kind of have to go. You kind of have to get a little, existential about it. So maybe don't get too existential before you blow your brains out, because I don't want anybody to die. But
This is Cap. You make me want to die on a regular basis.
yeah, but that's on you though. I don't want you to die. If you would die, I would be sad.
You know what else
I'll be
makes me want
sad.
to die? The fact that it's 10 p.m.
Yeah, wait. Let me just say this one thing, all right, and then we'll end the episode. But I don't know if you ever think about this, but have you questioned, like, there's a lot of things around me which sure might be fun to have, like your phone or even YouTube, but what is the meaning of it? What's the point? What is it contributing to the world? Is it doing any good, or is it
I do have that way of thinking a lot, and that's how I've curated what I actually think is worth doing and what is not worth doing. Like,
yeah.
do I get any type of personal development from this? Am I better in any way for doing these things? Yes. Okay, we ball. No, then don't do it.
Yeah.
Why do I have YouTube? If it was for watching unboxing videos, I would probably stop watching it, but I use it as a research tool.
Yeah.
The amount of the amount of stuff that I have learned because of YouTube and my computer is astounding. The amount of
Yeah.
games that I have discovered that too.
And
My phone has a great practical application. I can talk with you whenever the fuck you pick up.
yeah.
Which is, yeah.
No comment.
Books kill books. I have
Books
books. I
kill
love
what?
books. They are made of trees, yes, but
Yeah.
I have become a better person because of the stories that I have read and the ideas that have been shared with me through these pages.
Yeah.
Things like that.
I know, and
That's how I've curated what it's worthy of being in my life and what isn't.
in many ways, it is exactly that kind of thought process which I try to apply to exactly my analysis of his videos, which is, sure, they might be fun to watch, but do they mean anything? Are they adding anything to the world? Are they actually being more hurtful? And that's the only thing I wanted to kind of show. And in many ways, a lot of things in our life are like that. The other day I saw a fun, interesting video which made me question it, which was that, oh, would under a perfect communist utopia, would gaming exist? And I started thinking about it, and I'll be like, maybe not.
Oh, not.
Probably not. Because in that reality, we would not be, the gaming industry would have no real reason to exist. There would be no financial incentive for anything, because there is no financial incentive for anything. The only incentive there is to better our collective well-being. And
the only actual language you could use to explore is the idea that because we have, for example, video games, you can better someone's productivity and mental state because you're doing something they like, which in themselves helps the whole system. But that sounds awfully capitalistic.
Yeah, that's literally the false consciousness thing which I talked about, which is a lot of the things around us, like going to, like, after work, going to a bar and drinking alcohol and doing all these things. These are all just literally like shit ton of coping mechanisms that we have to be able to survive the capitalist society.
They are habits worthy of devotion and commitment.
It's just
I do not have a gambling addiction. I have a gambling commitment.
It's goddamn it, Alpha. It's a shit ton of It's a bunch of copium, right? It's just a bunch of copium.
I mean, also seeing as though mental health is really important. Yeah. I ride motorcycles. I do it because they're fun and I love them. It's fucking stupid. If you're caught in the rain and don't have the right gear, it sucks. You get run over by a car, it fucking sucks.
Yeah.
Fuel mileage, forget it. Yeah. But I love it. It makes my day a lot brighter. I feel better because I do it.
I think
There
that's,
are some things that you might just people just need to do it because they feel better. It's called recreational activities.
but the reality
Now,
is,
do you count alcohol as recreational activity? Well, it depends on where in the spectrum of alcoholism you are.
yeah, if
But
you're on the far deep end of it, you're like, nah, this
if
is
you are
fine.
like a brewer and you do that as a job, yeah, sure. If you go to the pub, the local pub at 5 a.m. to drink with the lads,
Like
then
a good old
yeah,
Brexit geezer.
the
Sorry.
Brexit Giza. But yeah, some things are just you just do because they feel good. I did archery for years because
You
I
had anger
liked
issues.
and I liked hitting a bullseye.
Oh,
It felt good when I hit a difficult shot. Did I get money from it? No, I lost money because of it. I spent a
yeah.
lot of money on bows.
But kind of just to end off the episode, now I feel like now you're kind of getting my whole point of the article, which is he what he is, whoa, holy shit.
I would never watch a video of MrBeast.
Yeah,
I would not feel better as a human being or be better as a human being because I watched someone wait 48 hours before they sat down
yeah,
as means
because
to
they
gain
need a
money.
Lambo.
Yeah,
But yeah, that's basically what I'm trying to say is like if you are, or my kind of my appeal, right? My appeal to humanity that I want to do with this, what I wanted to do with this article is that if you truly value humanity and you truly think that you want to make the world a better place, please, for the love of God, recognize that what he is doing is not doing that, and that you cannot fix capitalism and the monstrous amounts of issues, mental health, and everything that we have to deal with on a daily basis, which is caused by the system that we live in, which is capitalism. Fucking capitalism. It's always capitalism.
yeah. But at the same
You
time, I think
can't.
those people that were can actually see now again because he paid for the surgeries are thankful.
Yeah.
It's weird. It's I don't think
It's again.
he does it
It's
because he's a money grubbing gremlin.
no.
And
I
from
think
the way he's
that's
being reacted online, I don't think he should be condemned from trying to do this. It's not that it's his fault. It's more like the whole system sucks.
yeah. Although again, there is like the thing is like actions like that. Those are commendable. Those are things which you must go. Hey, look, which actually happened a lot. And I think that even Mr. B said and this holy shit said this himself be, during those videos or on Twitter because of those videos, which was like it's crazy how little money I spent on this video and how many people I helped. Why don't the
Yeah.
governments do this? And it's like, there you
It's
go,
pissed me off.
Jimmy, look, it's the thing. It's capitalism. Like fuck you. Like that. There you go. You got it, buddy. So
Segregate from the government.
that's
Become the Texas.
that's why I said before when I
Lead
was
the
like,
union.
I don't know if you heard that part, which is what I talked about, like the separation of like two groups of people that can like come or like that
Yeah?
can like that God damn it, that can be influenced by his videos. And my hope is that at least there are some people who look at that video and go, you know what, it is bullshit that the governments can't pay for this shit. Why can't they pay? And then they start researching and then they recognize that shit. That is,
I think most people that were upset with MrBeast had their anger misplaced because that's
yeah,
exactly what they were thinking. Like,
I think
fuck,
it's
fuck the government.
I think it's a
and
lot of
fuck this
misplaced
means of
anger. I
living.
think it's a lot of classic neoliberal, like redirecting of anger, which is a thing which happens a lot, right? Like redirecting an anger which should be directed towards the system and it's directed towards an individual, which is bullshit.
Racist.
And true. And as much again, which is the point of this video, and I kind of wanted to show this. I have no personal gripe against Jimmy, and if I would see Jimmy on the street, I would,
I can't get over Jimmy. Like, for some
damn it,
reason, my brain just doesn't compute that.
James. If I would see James on the street, I would,
Miguel, Saul
I would
Goodman.
give him a stern handshake. I would say, like you're a great person, and I wish there were more people like you in the world, because I do in many ways. I do wish there
I'll
was.
give you a Lambo.
There
Do I
was.
get a Lambo because I touched your hands?
I wish that in many ways, if all the other billionaires in the world, the Jeff Bezoses of the world, if the Elon Musk world had even 50% of the mentality that Mr. Beast would have, would we still live under a capitalist hellhole? Maybe. Would it be as bad as it is today? Probably not. So
Yeah.
again, what Mr. Beast does have a place in the world, and yes, it can do good, but it's not going to solve all the problems in the world, which is something that I think that he actually does believe.
This is actually a distinction that I think should be made. When we talk about these type of topics, it's not just a political issue; it's a humanitarian issue.
It's a
So
everything
politics
issue.
shouldn't get in the way of people trying to live their lives and be happier, healthier, and more fulfilled.
Yeah,
But that's like politics is around
everything.
deeming how and who
Yeah,
should live and who should survive and who should die.
yeah, and remember, like those who say like, "Oh, why are you bringing politics into this?" It's like, shut up, shut the fuck up, die,
Everything is
kill yourself.
political.
Okay, don't do that.
Politics is war without bloodshed.
Politics is the very essence of reality which we live in. It is whilst we have the laws of physics, these are the laws of society. Everything is politics is literally the science of what is it? What is it again? What's the definition?
All the time.
What?
I see politics
Everywhere.
all the time.
Yeah. Like there's literally like as I've become more and more tuned in with politics, and I think that Alpha himself is getting a little pissed off that I do this sometimes, which is that I can't look at anything and go, "Damn it, fucking capitalism!" Like, 'cause it's impossible. You
But now
achieve.
know this. I have been a lot more tuned in into the political spectrum than you in terms of for how long I've done
Yeah,
it because
period of
of my
time.
because of my grandparents'
Because of
revolutionary
your
path.
commie grandparents.
So the thing you're going through, that was my fucking
Childhood.
teenage years.
Yeah.
Why do you think I wasn't sleeping?
Yeah, so like now I've like reached a point where everything pisses me off, and everything should piss you off, and not because you want to murder people, because God no, that's not the point. But you
That's
should be pissed
misplacing
off.
anger once again.
You should
Don't
be
expect
angry.
to be a great individual.
You should
Try
be
to change it
you're.
this-
I don't remember who said this. I think it might a little controversial person, but I think it was actually Che Guevara who said this. But it's like your anger should be like come from love, basically. Like your anger towards the world, your distaste toward the world.
That is
Your
actually kind of scary. You could say that.
your
Why are you beating me? Why are you angry?
Because I
Oh,
love
my
you.
anger comes from love, child. Now shut up. Daddy
no, but
spanked you.
like you're like when you look at the world and everything pisses you off, when you feel, damn, why is the world so cruel? Why are people suffering? Why is there a bunch of
Yeah, that's from a place of
dumb
love.
shit
because they don't-
billionaires, get to hoard all the money and we got nothing? Don't do that because of jealousy, or don't do that because you just want bloodshed. No, do it because you truly want to build a world where people are loved, where people aren't oppressed, where people are respected for who they are, who, in a world where the concept of meritocracy is not even an idea that pops up in people's heads, because what is merit? What is the point? We're all completely different. You can't just evaluate us like little numbers. We're all fucking different. Like there is nobody who is objectively better than anybody else. We all, for that reason, we all deserve the exact same rights and the exact same opportunities, and to have a luxurious life where we can just do whatever the fuck we want and be lazy as hell every day. That is what we
Using-
need.
thought process of Immanuel Kant, the racist asshole who was really good at thinking. Do not
Not
treat
one part of
a
it.
group of people separately from one person. The individual in itself is infinitely complex and cannot be numbered. The loss of one person's lives is as much as a tragedy as the loss of the lives of thousands.
Damn, we're gonna leave it out there. That's perfect.
But at the end of the day, in the words of Rag and Bone, man, I'm only human after all. Don't put the blame on me. Thank you very much for listening to today's episode. This was a long one.
God, I want to strangle you so bad after that one. God,
You know, I actually I really enjoyed
I
that
also
one.
want to beat the ever living shit out of you because of love right now. God, that was so cringe. Damn it. Seriously, Alpha, why are
I
you?
really liked that song when I was earlier. When I was when I was younger.
Oh, God damn it. Yeah.
Yeah, I actually learned to play that song on the guitar.
Damn. Yeah, you told me. You told me that today.
I fucking sang that with my heart out. It was horrible. I wanted to... Years later, I found that video and I wanted to cry.
That's like
So,
top 10 moment that your brain likes to like replay when you're trying to go back to sleep. It's like what
Oh, I
that
have
exact
one
moment.
worse. I have one worse. I was going to a concert, and I basically pushed this friend of mine who was a singer, saying, "Hey, let's go play Let It Be by the Beatles. Do you know how to play that? Yeah, I know how to play. Do you know how to sing? Yeah, I think I remember. You remember? In any case, I'm over there. Let's go. Midway through the song, she just looks at me like, I don't remember this. Please help me. And I was there basically saying, okay, time to end this early. Goodbye, everyone. It was so bad.
Uh,
She was so embarrassed, and I wanted to die.
it's a whole lot of cringe.
A whole lot of
Top
cringe.
top 10 cringe moments of my life. Number one, my birth. What?
Number two, randomly moaning in class.
Yeah, because of leg pain. Number three, uh, Burger King foot lettuce. Anyways, thank you so much for
My
watching this
pain is
episode.
immeasurable, and my day has been ruined. Thank you very much.
If you enjoyed this episode and would like to support us, make sure to do that over at Patreon. If you can support us on Patreon, because fuck money, you can support us. You can check
Send
out
us
how to support
carrots.
us.
Fuck it,
Uh,
I'll do a soup.
Check out how to. You
Mail me
can
some potatoes.
what?
Start,
We're gonna
start
start a
a
farm.
garden. Send
Politdigm
us pictures
farming.
of the garden.
It's our new channel, guys.
Make
Politdigm
pies.
farming.
You are not going through with this ending. This is how we are ending it.
God damn it, I'm doing it. If you would like to support us in
Pies.
alternative forms, check out our website because we are always looking for alternative help. And of course, join our Discord server so you can have wacky, weird ass conversations with us. And of course, if
Self-sustaining kitchens.
I know where you live,
Garbage
Alpha.
disposal inside the house.
And God damn it. And then of
Free
course,
labor.
so follow us on our social media platforms. And goodbye. Thank you much for watching. Alpha, shut up.